Welcome back to Stitching with Samantha. Today I'm going to be showing you how to use backstitch to add a name to your Christmas stocking. I already have a chain stitch tutorial on my YouTube channel, but this one is going to be perfect for longer names or text that is closer together. Before we get stitching, we're going to go over my favorite supplies for handmade Christmas stockings. First, you are going to need a knit stocking for this tutorial, so I like to use ones that have a tight weave to hold embroidery well. This is from Amazon and I will link it in the description. Next, you're going to need a name pattern on water-soluble stabilizer. So I have these in my kit on Etsy, or you can print yourself on water-soluble stabilizer. The link will be in the description. Next, you're going to need a large eye embroidery needle or a darner's needle. I absolutely love this needle and it's also in my kit and I'll link it on Amazon. The yarn I'm using is Deep Red by Big Twist. It was a Joanne brand, rest in peace, but I believe you can still get it at Michael's. Now that we have all of our supplies, we are going to take the name pattern off of the backing. It is a sticker-like material, so it's just going to peel off and you can stick it on your stocking. And then after that, we are going to thread our yarn on our needle. We are going to take about an arm's length or an arm's length and a half of yarn from our skein, and then we are going to cut it. And then we are going to take our needle and we are going to pinch the end of the yarn, kind of twist it a little bit, and then we're going to bring it through the eye of our needle. Bring the yarn through so that it hangs down about 1/4 of the way, and then on the longer string of yarn, we are actually going to tie a knot on the end. You can tie the knot like normal, or you can practice this method that I like to use, which is twisting the yarn around my finger and then pulling it tight. This just allows the knot to be at the very end, which I like personally. And now it's time to start stitching. We're going to be using backstitch. To start our backstitch, we are going to bring our needle up at the very starting line of our name pattern, and then we are going to bring it down about 1/4 of an inch, bringing our needle through all the way and pulling the yarn taut. We are then going to skip forward another 1/4 of an inch, bring our needle up all the way, and then bring your needle down the same hole that you ended your last stitch. And then we're going to pull tight. It's called backstitch because we bring our stitch back to our previous stitch every time. So we're going to do this again. We're going to bring our needle up, and then we are going to put our needle back down at the end of our previous stitch. Make sure that there's no gaps in your back stitches, and make sure that the length of each stitch is the same so that everything looks uniform. You're going to keep moving around the letter with your back stitches, and then when we come to a line of our previous stitches, we are actually going to bring our needle up as close as possible and then place another back stitch. And now we can move to a new section, and it's a short distance, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my needle up and then restart my back stitches. We're going to keep stitching, and then when we come to the eye, I will show you how I move on to the next letter. When I come to the eye, I could start a new row of stitches at the top. However, I'm actually going to just work my way up the eye. So I'm going to keep placing my back stitches until I get to the top. And when I get to the dot of the eye, I'm just going to do one single straight stitch. So I'm going to bring my needle up at the bottom of the dot and then bring it back down at the top of the dot, and it's just going to be one single stitch. And then I'm going to work my way back down the eye, so I'm going to come to a natural spot where I can continue my stitches down in a straight way. So then I'm going to continue my back stitches. It's going to have a bit of an overlap of a few different stitches until I get back on track. Now I'm going to continue stitching, but I'm almost out of yarn, so we are going to tie off and restart. So to tie off, I'm going to do my last back stitch, bringing my needle to the back of the stocking, and then I'm going to bring my needle through the previous stitches on the back. So we're going to do it one time, and then a second time, bringing it underneath our stitches on the back there, and then a third time, and then this last time, I'm not going to pull it through all the way. I'm going to bring my needle through the little loop that I have here, and then pull that into a knot. And then afterwards, I'm going to bring my needle under the stitches one more time, just to hide that knot that we just made. I love this method because it's really secure, but it also has a smooth finish on the back. So after that, we're going to cut our yarn and then we are going to get our new piece of yarn and we are going to tie a knot on the end and we are going to restart. We're going to tie our knot like normal, and then we are actually going to bring it through our stitches on the back one time just to lock it into place and kind of hide it under the stitches, and then we will start stitching again, doing our back stitches like normal. I'm going to go ahead and stitch a little bit quicker, and then I'm going to check back in with you when we come to the A because it'll be a little bit different of a technique. Now we're coming up on the A, so I'm placing my last back stitch, and then I could start at the top of the A and skip up there. However, I'm actually just going to continue my back stitch to the top. Now, as you can see, once we get up here, it's a little bit of a distance back down, so I'm just going to take my needle on the back underneath through my stitches so that everything stays uniform on the back, and then once I get to that section, I can restart my back stitches. As you can see on the back, this gave a uniform look and you can't even tell that we switched directions. After we finish the name, I'm going to show you how to tie off your yarn one more time. So we're going to bring our needle underneath our previous stitches about 2 to 3 times. And then once you are done with that, we are going to bring our needle under one more time. And then we are going to put our needle through the little loop, and then we're going to pull tight, and then bring our needle underneath the stitches one more time to hide that knot. After we're done, we are going to cut the rest of our yarn off, and then I'm going to turn my stocking back right side, and then after that, I'm going to show you how to wash off the stabilizer. This is a really important step. It's definitely something that I feel like people skip over, but it's important because you don't want ink or yarn bleeding onto your beautiful stocking, especially if you have white yarn or a white stocking. To wash off the stabilizer, we're going to place our stocking under running water for about 3 to 5 minutes so that all of the stabilizer comes off. As you can see, it starts coming off early, but you need to go ahead and rinse it for that full 3 to 5 minutes, just making sure that all the stabilizer is off. And as you're rinsing, you're also going to use soap and you're going to rub it into your stitching. Make sure that you get underneath and around the yarn because that's where a lot of the ink bleeding and yarn bleeding can happen, is if that stabilizer is caught underneath the yarn. So you're going to go ahead and rub in the soap. You can do this about 2 to 3 times. If you go ahead and do it once and you feel like you're still seeing a little bit of discoloration, go ahead and repeat, and then afterwards you should have a beautiful stocking free of ink bleeds. And then after you dry, you're going to have a beautiful stocking. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you follow along for my other Christmas tutorials throughout this season, and I hope you have a wonderful day.